Hello and welcome back. So today I'm doing a slightly different video. Normally this is a Doctor Who figure channel, but I want to talk about a new series of figures that I've been collecting very recently, which is the Star Wars Black Series line, which is the 6-inch line from Hasbro, which covers all of Star Wars, from the original trilogy to the prequels, the sequels, TV series, games, animated shows, comic books, I think, all sorts. This is a new line that I've just started collecting, and it's a line that's been going for quite a few years now. And the reason why I wanted to do a video on this is because at the moment it's something that I'm really quite interested in. I'm really excited to be back in the world of Star Wars, collecting Star Wars figures. I'll collect everything that I've got so far and just do a little talk about what I think about the figures in general, pros and cons, and really just what my experience has been of collecting this series of figures many years after they've already started coming out. The first thing worth mentioning is, of course, why did I suddenly start collecting Star Wars figures after so many years? Because I used to be a massive Star Wars fan. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved Star Wars. I collected the 3 3/4 inch line, starting from the Power of the Force figures, that first wave that came out in, I think, 1995. And I imagine, if I think back hard enough, it probably would have been Christmas 1995 that I would have got that first few figures. So I would have only been 3 years old, but I would have definitely got them the following year when I was 4. And I collected them religiously. It was the line that I properly collected, both me and my brother, and we had loads of them. And I think overall it was something like, between all the figures and the vehicles and the play sets, maybe like 200 and something items. And we still have them all and they're all kept in storage. But Revenge of the Sith came out. I just thought after that, I'm not really that fussed about getting these Star Wars figures anymore. And Doctor Who returned in 2005, and that basically took all my attention. I was back on the Doctor Who train, and Star Wars sort of went away from me. Like, I missed out on all of the animated stuff, the Clone Wars, Rebels, all of that kind of thing. And then with the reveal of The Mandalorian last year, which was absolutely superb, it got me back in, and since being in lockdown, it's allowed me to catch up on stuff like Clone Wars and Rebels. I was just inundated with all this Star Wars stuff. And it was getting up to Christmas, and I thought, ooh, I wouldn't mind getting 1 or 2 of these Star Wars Black Series figures. And the only other thing to mention is that this collection will only be made up of the original trilogy and stuff from The Mandalorian, and then any other live-action TV series that might get the action figure treatment later on. First figure I got, Darth Vader, Empire Strikes Back. I did a lot of research into which was the best Darth Vader, because they've done a few. I've never really been that fond of the New Hope Red Eyes look, and then everyone said that the Empire Strikes Back version was the best, and seeing as Empire Strikes Back is my favourite Star Wars film, that worked out perfectly for me. So I was very lucky in that I got it on the Empire Strikes Back retro card. Absolutely love this. I think these old card backs are fantastic. Now, I am not old enough to have collected the original line, obviously. However, when I was collecting the 90s figures, we had a book that was basically an archive of all of the stuff from the 90s and all of the stuff from 78 onwards. So I was really familiar with these card backs, and I always loved the way they looked. I loved the boxes. I thought they looked so cool. So it was kind of like a weird, nostalgic, giddy thrill on Christmas Day, seeing a Darth Vader figure. I was like, I've not had a new Darth Vader figure in my hands in donkey's years. Before I even took it out of the box, I was just overwhelmed by the scale of it, the size of it. I mean, as you can see, I've collected plenty of other 6-inch lines. I've got Masters of the Universe Classics up there, got Batman the Animated Series. I just thought, wow, he's massive, because obviously he's David Prowse, he's much taller than everyone else, and you can see he really does tower above the other guys here on the table. Detail-wise, really superb. The sculpt is excellent. I love the use of the paint applications on the helmet, so you've got the gunmetal silver, and then you've got the gloss on the eyes just to give it that sort of reflective touch. Even on the main helmet, you've got this lovely sheen to it. Annoyingly, my one does have a nasty scratch down the back, so if anyone knows a good way to fix a scratch on the back of his head, I did wonder about maybe using some gloss finish, but I don't want to balls up the head completely. But yeah, if you've got any ideas, leave them in the comments below. That'd be very helpful. Otherwise, fantastic sculpting all around. I love the textures and the creases on the body and the suit. Really, for a figure that is basically just all in black, it could be quite boring. But because the sculpting is so impressive, and then you've got this difference in the gloss on the gloves and the shoulder armour compared to the matte of the bodysuit, it really makes for a visually interesting figure, even though he is just all in black. And then you've got the paint applications on the breathing apparatus and on his belt. Incredible detail with the lettering on the panel on the chest, which is just phenomenal. And then, obviously, as a 6-inch collector's line, which you're looking at, what, £20 a figure, you get a lot of articulation. And all of these figures are basically the same in terms of articulation. They all generally have ball joints at the neck. You've got the butterfly joints in the shoulders, which allows for so much more movement. And you've got like the half ball joints in the shoulders as well, so the arms can swivel out and swivel all the way around. And then articulation at the elbows, so they're double jointed, so they swivel all the way around and they go up and down, they pivot up and down. Same for the wrists, joints that allow them to tilt back and forth as well as going all the way around. Waist articulation, it tends to be that you get an ab crunch. So Vader just has an ab crunch there, which doesn't do an awful lot for him, but on other figures it works a lot better. So like if we take Han Solo for instance, he again doesn't have any waist articulation, but he has got that ab crunch there, which allows him to sort of just tilt downwards ever so slightly. And then you've got all the usual stuff like articulation at the hips, going forward, out to the sides, swivel joints at the thighs so they can do 360s. The swivel joint at the knees is separated by an actual knee cap, so again it gives you a lot more articulation, which allows you to even bend the knee all the way back like that. And also articulation at the ankles, they can tilt either side and they can move up and down. So articulation, a really massive bonus of these figures, particularly compared to the figures that I used to collect in the 90s, because it just allows so much more posability. And I think that's one of the fun things that I've loved about getting these figures so far, is that all the time I'm just like, right, I'll put them in a pose, keep them on display, and then I'll go back to it later on and be like, oh, well, let's change it up a bit, swap it around. You know, Mando in particular, barely been able to put him down since I've got him. I'm always moving him about because he's such a great character and he's such a great figure, and they've really captured the look incredibly well. One of the things that kind of made me not sure about whether I really wanted to go into the Black Series stuff was the soft goods, because I've never really been a fan of soft goods on figures smaller than 1/6 scale. And actually, I've got to say, for the most part, I think the soft goods on these figures work really well. So Vader benefits because, you know, you get a lot of movement there. It allows you to give various poses, like I said. So if it was a sculpted cape, you wouldn't be able to do things like this. So I understand why they did it. Again, same here with his, whatever you call that, his skirt. I don't know, it's part of his cloak around the back as well. This undergarment, no, it's not that. The skirt piece, you know, again, I was like, oh, why would you not sculpt that? But again, if you want to put him in really dynamic poses, you want that to be loose. And of course, you can do all sorts. If you want to do stuff like where he's kneeling down to speak to the Emperor, well, you know, you can do that. So that's really great. I love that. So overall, I think the fabric works pretty well. It does seem a bit long, which I think causes a couple of issues. I guess that is correct, because I think you do see him, particularly when he's on his own Star Destroyer walking about, you can see that his cape's draping behind him. But I think for the figure, sometimes when you stand him up, it does cause the cape to sort of bunch up a bit around the shoulders. So you're there sort of having to fiddle with it just to make it sort of fall correctly. The only other issue I have in terms of the articulation is that some of the joints can be a little loose. So in terms of Vader, his ankles aren't great, bless him. So at times, you can see there, he's a little bit wobbly. He does have a tendency to tilt. I don't think I've really had any other problems with the other figures. The joints on Mando are also kind of loose compared to the other figures, and that might be because I bought him second hand. I don't know how much the guy who owned him before posed him and stuff. Luke as well, for instance. Luke is a really great figure because you can pose him doing a one-handed handstand. But with my one, the joint in his arm that is required to do that is slightly loose. So it does mean you've got to really, really struggle to get him in that position. Not that it's really a pose that I will be posing him in a lot anyway, but it's just worth pointing out. And of course, all the figures come with accessories. Vader just has the one, the lightsaber. Really great. Again, the attention to detail on these, very well done. I love the fact that the blade is detachable, very similar to the ones that I used to get with the Attack of the Clones figures when they came out. And it's also got a hook on the hilt, and there's a hook on his belt, so you can display him with the lightsaber attached like that. The second figure was Boba Fett. I'm probably going to get a lot of crap in the comments because I'm going to keep calling him Boba Fett rather than Boba Fett. Hey, I grew up in a household that called him Boba Fett before we saw Attack of the Clones. It just stuck, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there who do the same. Another phenomenal figure, got this one over Christmas as well. This guy did not come with this display stand, just full disclosure. This is a display stand from the Batman animated series line. Again, I was lucky enough to get him on the retro card. Really fantastic figure. Again, one of those figures that you can just put it in different poses for hours. Again, all of the same pros as Vader. Fantastic paint applications. I absolutely love the way that they've done all of the weathering and stuff. You know, the jetpack is detachable. They've even gone to the trouble of sculpting like the buckles on the back, which is just bonkers because Boba Fett's that I had growing up didn't have that, but that's really, really great. Again, he's got some soft goods. With the cape, he comes with 2 accessories. He's got his usual blaster, the one that you see him use in the film, and he's got a sidearm that you never see him use in the film, and I didn't even know he had it until the figure came. So, yeah, that was a surprise to me. This is one of my favourites, much like with the Mandalorian. It's just such a cool look and such a great character that you can just put him in any pose and he just looks menacing and great. Really, really fun to look at. Really, really fantastic. And my only criticism with this one, he, in terms of articulation, doesn't have any issues with loose joints or anything. But what I don't like about this one is that the colour between the tops of his legs and the bottom of his legs. Now, obviously they've gone for some sort of weathering look to make it look like lower down his legs it's getting a bit dirtier or whatever, which is fine, you know, he's out bounty hunting, he's getting into all sorts of trouble and dirt and muck, but it is like a night and day difference. So clean, so dark, to the point where, you know, even the joints in the knees are lighter than the rest of the leg, so it looks a bit weird, and particularly from the back, it looks very strange that you've just got this nice clean, then very dark and dirty wash. Now this is the second time, I believe, that this figure has been released, and I don't think the original version looked quite like that, so that is my only criticism of what is otherwise a fantastic figure. Just absolutely phenomenal, really, really great. Next on the list were Han and Leia, which I got from Forbidden Planet. Han was just standard £20. Leia, on the other hand, was a lot cheaper. The retro carded version was something like £16, and I was like, oh, that's good. But they had the original release in the standard window box, which is also very nice, particularly if you're a collector who likes to take stuff off display and store it, because you can put it back in nice and easily, and it's like you've never taken it out of the box. This was, for whatever reason, slightly cheaper. And I thought to myself, well, I always like a bargain, and I don't display them on cards, so I'll get the cheaper one. The figure is exactly the same, by the way. There's literally no difference. I had a thorough check while I was in the shop. This was before lockdown. This was just before lockdown, the week before. Again, really great figures. Han, I really love. This is a figure that I always wanted in the 3 3/4 inch line, and I never got him. I got him in the Mynock Hunt set, which was like Chewbacca, Han, Leia, and a Mynock. And Han was in a bit of a weird pose, because that was just the way figures were back then. I was really pleased to get this version of Han, and of course, like I said at the start, Empire Strikes Back is my favourite of the Star Wars films, so it made sense that I've got a bit of a theme running here. I think the likeness of Harrison Ford is pretty darn good. I know that they've sort of changed the technology on these figures. I know that before they were sort of, I guess, digitally sculpted, and now they use something called like photoreal technique or something. Again, really great attention to detail. Like, I love all of the way that the belt is sculpted and the holster. Lovely dirty wash over the top, which makes it feel like it's kind of like actual leather, which is also really fun. I also think, this is really neat, that you actually have a proper buckle that clips on and clips off. It just pushes in and pushes out. I pointed out that ab crunch earlier on. It is a little unsightly, I've got to say, and the only issue I have with it is that this top piece is obviously moulded in a white plastic, whereas this bit is painted white, and the colour difference is slightly noticeable, but it's not too bad. He also has a really weird joint at the neck, so, you know, his head's on a ball joint, you can swivel it all the way around, but then he's got this weird neck joint that allows it to pivot forward. When you pose him like that, he looks like E.T. or something. It's really, really weird. I mean, whose neck does that? put my neck out. The only other thing that I would say is that what I've noticed with some of the human figures, and not all of them, but like Han, for instance, the hair, it's just brown. There's no washes in there to make it more interesting. I know Harrison Ford's hair is brown, but when you've seen it in other toy lines they've done it here with Luke. He's got a bit of a wash in his hair just to make it look a little bit more realistic. So I think I sort of missed that on these guys. And the same's really for the jacket. I think the jacket could do with maybe a little bit of something just to make it feel a bit more weathered and real. Leia, again, this was a figure that I kind of had. I had the Minot Hunt version when I was a kid, but it was my preferred Leia because the one with the buns, that's no good. The figure from the 90s was terrible because the skirt came off, the cape came off. It was really, really weird. Whereas this, she feels like she's combat ready. She's ready to get into a fight. And I love the accessories. She comes with this massive, great big gun that she doesn't use in the film, but who cares? It's a Rebel Alliance gun. But she does come with this stuff. She's got the goggles that you can actually put on her head, which is really cool. Not that you would ever really want to display her like that, I don't think, because you would be hiding what is a fantastic head sculpt of Carrie Fisher. And she also has the little bzz thing, the welder device, whatever you call it, that she uses on the Falcon. And I say that is a really great sculpt of Carrie Fisher because I'm so used to having the smaller figures where the likeness to Carrie Fisher was, well, it could have been anyone, but it certainly wasn't Carrie Fisher. Whereas this looks really, really great. It looks just like her, and I absolutely love it. So yes, another one that's really great. Again, kind of like Vader, there's not an awful lot going on there. She's just in white and then slightly off-white jacket, but there's enough going on in terms of the sculpt with all of the different textures of the jacket compared to the jumpsuit that it makes for a really great figure. Next on the list was Degaber, Luke, and Yoda. So why these guys? Two reasons. One, I wanted a Yoda, and I'd heard that the Yoda that you can get single carded is really out of scale. He's slightly too tall, and I've seen pictures and he does look pretty massive. So I thought, well, I'll get this one because this one's better. And secondly, these two figures, when I had the original 3 3/4 inch ones, were one of my favourites. I loved those figures. They were great because as a kid, the fact that you could get Yoda and you could put him in Luke's backpack just like you can with this one. I'm not putting him in there probably, but you get the idea. I loved that. As a kid, that was just brilliant. You could reenact that from the film, amazing. I used to love doing that. And honestly, I got to say, this is a really fantastic set. The paint applications on this one in particular, really, really well done. They've made all his trousers all muddy and dirty, same for his top, which is great because, he's running around getting sweaty, getting dirty in the swamps of Degaber. The face sculpt is really, really good as well. Mark Hamill's face seems to be a face that people never get right. Even Hot Toys, which are like, the pinnacle of toy manufacturing. You can't even call them toys, can you? They're like pieces of art, really. Even they sometimes struggle, I think, with Mark Hamill. So this, I think, is really, really great. The only issue I have is that maybe the hair could sit a little lower, but it's not too bad. This guy, I've seen him online at different shops for something like 35 quid, possibly more than that. I managed to get this for £28, including postage and packaging, off of eBay. Brand new, so I was really pleased because I didn't really want to be paying upwards of £40 for two figures. So Luke, really, really great. He has quite a lot of accessories. He's got his lightsaber. He also has interchangeable hands, so you can have him using the Force, you can have him doing a handstand if you want. And then, of course, he's got his standard blaster, which is just brown and black, and then with silver at the end, which looks really great. The rucksack is just standard blue. Again, really well sculpted. You've got some finer details painted on in silver. Again, this is something that I wish had a bit of weathering to it. Just like the rest of his outfit, I think the backpack could have done with a wash of something, just to make it feel a little bit more real. Yoda, again, also really, really great figure. A beautiful sculpt of Yoda's head, amazing. It just looks so good. Actually comes with two sculpts, one eye's open, one eye's shut, so he's using the Force. And as you can see, he's also got all of the soft goods. All the fraying that you can see, that is part and parcel of the figure. My only issue is that some of the threads do fall off when you're trying to pose him or whatever, which is also quite difficult trying to get the walking stick in his hand because the sleeves are so long. Yeah, so I do worry that threads falling off, that one day he's going to be a naked Yoda rather than a cloaked Yoda. And he does have this little necklace thing as well, which is just hangs around the neck. Something to be careful of when you're taking the head off. You don't want to lose that. Not really a figure that I would have felt needed soft goods, but it works. My only criticisms is I don't think he's got much of a hunchback. I think he's far more hunched over in Empire Strikes Back. And the sleeves, although they're long over his hands, they don't droop. And I can only imagine that's because it's very difficult to do at that scale. But that's my only criticism of what is otherwise a very, very good figure. And I absolutely love this set. I was really pleased when it turned up. Again, it's one of these that I could just muck about with for hours. The next figure I got was the Stormtrooper. This is the Mandalorian version in this box with the lovely artwork on the side. A brilliant figure, you know, it's just a Stormtrooper, but it's so crisp and clean, and the white is such a brilliant white because everything is moulded in that white plastic. It just looks fantastic. And again, one of those figures that you can just pose for ages and put them in different positions and it just looks awesome. So if there's one thing that I've learned from collecting this series is that army builders are nigh on impossible to get unless you pre-order them. Now obviously I didn't know this when I started buying these figures, so I came into it thinking, oh, I'll just get myself a Stormtrooper. Haha, fat chance. So like I said, these figures are about £20 per figure. If you want to get one of these guys on the secondary market, you're looking at £30+ sometimes. And it's like, it's a Stormtrooper. I don't want to be paying more for a Stormtrooper than I'm paying for Darth Vader. You mad? I understand the appeal of army building. I've done it with the Doctor Who line. Hell, I would have liked at least another one of these Stormtroopers because it would be cool to have one on either side of Vader. Yeah, people, I think, take the piss and make it incredibly difficult. Or they're scalpers, you know, they know that people really want these figures and want lots of them, and yeah, you know, they then put them on eBay at inflated rates. I've seen it with the Doctor Who line. You see it with every toy line. But I managed to get this one because my friend Jonathan Carley, who also collects the Black Series figures, happened to have one of these going, so he very, very kindly let me buy it off him. So a massive thank you to Jonathan because it's a fantastic figure, really, really great. Again, the articulation just allows for so much more movement. And what is funny is when I got this, it made me realise just how inaccurate the original Stormtrooper that I had as a kid was growing up. And this also leads me to my next point about collecting the Black Series figures, which is something that I've never really noticed in collecting other toy lines. You know, I've collected lots of stuff over the years, and that's bootlegs. So when I was looking for a Stormtrooper, like I said, I couldn't find any for love nor money. Went on eBay, and there were Stormtroopers, Clone Troopers, any sort of army building figure, £15, £20, and I thought, oh, that's weird. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, this sounds a little too good to be true. Turns out, bootleg figures with Star Wars Black Series is a huge thing. I had never encountered it before. Really interesting. You know, there are telltale signs when a figure turns up if it's a bootleg. Most of the time, it's stuff like the logo is completely wrong and janky and weird. So if you're going to start collecting this line, I know that you kind of want to save your money. You know, I didn't want to pay massive amounts for a Stormtrooper, like I said, and I was just very lucky. You know, you see the pictures of these bootlegs on eBay and you think, oh, it doesn't look too bad. And then I've seen what people have actually got in the post, and it's like someone's rolled a shopping trolley over the figure. It's really, really bad. You know, the sculpt's very soft and podgy, and the white is all yellowed and naff. Yeah, don't go for it. I mean, you can by all means, but I personally wouldn't do it. And you know, you don't want to support people that are just making money off of someone else's molds. The other figure that I also discovered is a bootlegged figure is little baby Yoda over here, Grogu. Again, loads of them on eBay. You know, he is about £11, which is mental. £11 for that bonkers, but hell, I paid it. I looked on eBay, oh, here's £7. That's a bit more like it. I don't mind paying that so much, but it's a bootleg. And again, you can tell because the accessories don't come in a little plastic case like the real one does, and the paint applications aren't as good, and I think even completely missing in some of them. So it's just something to be aware of. Black Series and bootlegs, yeah, it's a dodgy thing. And then finally, the last figures that I got were Mando and Grogu. So this guy, I think, is a fabulous figure. Really, really great. Love it. I love displaying him and putting him in different poses. The only criticism I have of this figure, which isn't a criticism of the figure, it's of the seller who I got it from, is he had a big scratch down the front of his helmet, which I've had to go and fill in myself and then paint over with silver paint. It's not a brilliant match, I've got to say, but it's good enough, and I'm sure eventually they'll do a Season 2 version. As you can see, he's got his big, really wicked gun that he's got in that series that just completely atomizes stuff. But he does come with his rocket pack, like Boba does, and that clips in just like Boba's. But the cloak, which is sculpted, is not made to have the backpack on, which is so weird. And it's kind of, it baffles me because you're like, well, hang on a minute, here's a figure that really could have done with soft goods, and you've given him a sculpted cape? What's that all about? There's lots going on in terms of the sculpting with the creases of the suit underneath, the crispness of the armour, you've got the Mudhorn signet on the shoulder. I love all of this, like the bandolier and the belt on the front, which is all separate, that's a separate rubber piece. And the engineering of getting the jetpack to work, you know, there's a hole in that bandolier piece as well for the jetpack to plug into, as well as the rifle, which is a bit temperamental. You can get it in there and sometimes it'll pop out. And as much as I love this Mando figure, you cannot have Mando without little Grogu, which, you know, is a ridiculous price. You know, the amount of money it costs for this guy for what you're getting is absolutely ridiculous, and it baffles me. But he was almost as much as him, which is insane. The amount of postage I had to pay for this guy, you know, absolutely bonkers. But, you know, you can't have one without the other. And I would have felt like my Mando was lost without having his little green son to go with him. I almost waited for the Smith's exclusive Mando and Child set, but I didn't get that because I wanted to have a Grogu that was actually articulated. The one in that set isn't. It's like stuck going like that. Whereas this one does have a little bit of articulation. You've got a ball-jointed head, ball-jointed arms, which do pop out ever so often, which is quite funny. It's like, oh my god, I've pulled the baby's arm off. And he's also got ball-jointed feet, which is like, what's the point? You know, he's not going anywhere on those. You've got to have little Grogu with Daddy Mando. He doesn't hold him very well. You know, he's not used to being a parent. So yeah, that is it really. That's where I am so far with the old Star Wars Black Series collection. Loving it so far. I'm happy with what I've got. Got to get myself a Chewbacca. And I've got to get myself a C-3PO and an R2-D2, which, for some unknown reason, is absolute gold dust. They are so expensive. I'm going to put it down there. It's a pain in the ass. Little shitbag. A 3PO, I've seen go for 30 odd quid more. I don't want to pay £30 for C-3PO. R2-D2, I've seen like £90, £100 plus. Why? Why is he so expensive? It's the little shit robot from Star Wars. What the hell? I guess maybe those are packaged less to a case. But my friend Jonathan, who I got the Stormtrooper from, he said, well, you know, they keep re-releasing the figures a lot anyway, and Return of the Jedi's anniversary is coming up in a couple of years, so chances are they'll both be released again on the Return of the Jedi cards. So I'm not, you know, gonna break the bank over something that will eventually, more than likely, be re-released in some fashion. So I am holding out for those two. But I do have some others on pre-order. I've got Bo-Katan from The Mandalorian and a Tusken Raider on pre-order, as well as somebody else. Cara Dune. Yeah, I've got those on pre-order from Forbidden Planet. So hopefully they'll all go through, and I'll get some of those soon. I also want to get them off Gideon, but he's proving to be elusive because all of the pre-orders have sold out. Surprise, surprise. And yes, that's it really. So if you would like me to review those figures properly, like proper individual figure reviews like I do for the Doctor Who stuff, leave a comment in the comment section below and say, yes, please review Cara Dune when she turns up, please review Tusken Raider, please review Bo-Katan. I'm really focusing on Mandalorian stuff at the moment because it's such a good series, it's so brilliant. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I said, the takeaways from this is army builders, sculptors, you're a pain in the ass for getting Stormtroopers. Watch out for bootlegs because they're really bad, and pre-order stuff before it sells out, if you can. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see more Star Wars stuff, I mainly do Doctor Who stuff, but if you're stumbling upon this Star Wars video and you're like, hey, this isn't bad, then yeah, please give it a thumbs up and a subscription, because you know, that's how the algorithm works. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm really enjoying getting back into Star Wars, really enjoying mucking about with these figures, and hopefully I'll be able to do a few more videos in the coming months. So thanks for watching, see you again soon, bye bye!